who's got two thumbs and loves Halloween? This girl. Hello guys! I'm back again from my cozy, somewhat frigid, often interrupted by outdoor noises garage because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. I am back here this week to turn the American Duchess wrap cape into a fun yet sophisticated Halloween costume. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this pattern, American Duchess released this 1910 style wrap cape for free on their Patreon. I will link it below in the description if you want to check it out. And it sort of took the historical costuming community by storm. Because who doesn't love a good cape? And who can say no to free shit? Am I right? It was the perfect combination, and this fall was the perfect timing to make my cozy Cape Core dreams come true. So I jumped right on the bandwagon and made my own, but with some modifications to accommodate my linebacker-esque shoulders and to beef up the structure of the garment a bit. Now, let's focus on how we're going to make this cloak more Halloween-y, because it wasn't spooky enough for this holiday. And when I saw these kind of capes floating around Pinterest, I thought that would be a great way to add a little bit of Halloween touch to this cape, but in a way that would make it easily removable for after the holidays. Because I love Halloween, but I'm not sure that I permanently want spiderwebs attached to one of my favorite outerwear garments. So this is what I have in mind. I think I can take some black fabric and using the American Duchess cape pattern, cut out a sort of spider web overlay, which I can then tack down with small stitches around the base of the cape and then attach at the collar with a separate sort of lace or tie so that the two garments can be easily removed without damaging too much the original cape. I also wanted to make a classic witch's hat to complete the whole dark academia witchcore aesthetic. First, let's get started on the body. So for fabric, I kind of went through my stash and pulled out all the black fabric I own, which, for the record, is a surprising amount. I kind of came up with one option for the hat, and it's this. It looks like it's just a plain black cotton. I'm not sure what happened, but it got, I think, maybe exposed to the sun. On one side, it's got this weird thing going on with it. It's basically the perfect size and texture and color for the hat, so we're gonna use that, and it doesn't matter that it's all dyed funky because we're only gonna see one side of it, so that's fine. For the cape, I'm not planning on finishing off any of the edges. They're all going to be raw, and so I knew that I wanted to look primarily for a black fabric that doesn't fray like crazy, and I came up with two items in my stash here. One is much heavier than this one. This is a knit. I have no idea what this one is. My main concern with that was that the edges might curl up on itself because knits like to do that when you cut them. So I cut a thin strip and it does not want to curl, which is strange but fantastic. So I will be using this for the body of the cape. Let's get cutting.
So I've got the original pattern pieces all traced out. You can see that the beige paper is the new pattern copy that I'm going to experiment with. And I'm just going to try and add some spiderweb shapes onto here and see what it looks like. So I'm pretty sure I want this back section divided into 3 different sort of spider webs. I don't know if that makes sense. But so I've taken this entire measurement here and divided it into 3. Mark that out. It's these 2 lines here. These are going to be the 2 vertical lines that go up and down. And then we're going to connect these with sort of whoop, whoop, arches. So let's trace that out and see what that looks like. Using the pattern weights of choice, like the classy broad I am. I guess we'd call these tools of the trade?
Alright, so we're about halfway through, and I just wanted to give you a sort of update on how exactly I am doing this. So once I had my pattern divided into thirds here, I then just started connecting the dots for the first row, and then from there I've been measuring up. So I kind of decided that I thought 7 centimeters would be a good height for this first band. And then from there I went up another 7 centimeters to start the next band, and I wanted this one to be a bit skinnier, knowing that as we go up they're going to get smaller, so I also wanted them to be skinnier. So this second band here will be 6 centimeters wide, this will be 5, and then 4, 3, and 2, and we're just going to kind of wing it as we get up there. I know it looks a bit confusing right now because it's just a bunch of lines, but we're going to kind of color in the outlines once we're done to make sure we like how it looks, and then it's going to be a bit clearer. We have reached a roadblock here. This fabric categorically refuses to accept chalk. I have been trying for the last 5 minutes to get it to take some chalk, and even the straight edges where I have a ruler to help me hold down the fabric, it will not be chalked. And I can tell that it would take me approximately 5 decades to get this whole pattern drawn out. So I think we need to come up with a plan B. Also, this pattern is driving me absolutely nuts. It is the world's curliest fabric, and it will not lie flat no matter what I do. So I am having to use a lot of creative paperweights, many of them, copious amounts. In other news, we have a sploot alert in the corner. Ladies and gentlemen, the rare double sploot. So let's see if we can't come up with a better solution for getting this pattern cut out. Alright, so I got really excited and thought, hey, I want to try this out and pin it on and see what it looks like before I cut all of the sections out. And I brought it upstairs and I brought out my American Duchess cape, the original, pinned it on, and guys, I hate it. It's horrible. I really don't like the way it looks. Here's a better look at it without me blocking the view, and it's passable if I hold it out like this so everything is taut, and then it's like, you know, acceptable. But as soon as it goes slack, all of these guys just hang down and flop over, and I hate the way it looks. So I don't know, I'm gonna take a pause, go take a walk, and come back and see if my brain has come up with any better ideas for what's going on here. Alright, so I'm back from my walk, and while I didn't have any revelations about what exactly to do about the cape, I decided instead to turn my attention to the hat, and maybe a solution will present itself for the cape. But in the meantime, let's take a look at where I am with the hat. Here we have the two brim pieces that have been cut out. This thread marking here is the exact circumference of my head, and this is an important measurement to keep it the same, which is why I have thread marked it, whereas you can see here the outer line, which is less important, is just in chalk, so if it smudges and erases itself, it's less important. So this is the upper brim, it will be facing the sky. This is the lower brim and will be facing my face. You can see I've taken some burgundy fabric and just hand stitched it down. These two will be the main portions of the brim, and in between these two we will have this layer, which is the world's cheapest interfacing. It is super chemical. When you iron it, it smells like you are taking years off of your life, but I'm hoping it's going to make the brim a little bit stiffer. And then because all of this is very thin, I wanted to add some batting as well. So I cut out one piece of batting here, and then I decided actually I want a little bit more floof. So I cut out a second layer of batting, but I couldn't handle the thought of wasting any of that batting, so I actually just pieced it together from a bunch of scraps. And I think this is like 5 or 6 pieces of batting, which I have then just sewn together by hand, which is utterly ridiculous. I have better things to do with my time, but I also just couldn't stand the thought of throwing away a bunch of scraps. So there you have it. And then that will all get attached onto the cone. And here is that cone right here. So we have one big piece, and then we have one small piece. So this small piece is the true measurements of the finished hat. So this will be the inside lining layer, and then this will be the outside layer that's visible from the outside. And it is bigger because I'm hoping that once I put this on top of this, all that extra fabric will kind of slouch down and give me that slouchy look that we're going for. Then if I turn this over, you can see I've pinned down some channels. I am going to sew them down and run some very thin wire through them. And I am hoping that that wire will help me to form this hat into whatever shape I want it to take. So if I want it to stand up really straight, that'll help do it hopefully. And if I want to make the top part kind of kink over, hopefully this will allow me to do that. So I've been thinking about it a lot, and I think the only way to really deal with this is to actually go in and hand sew down all of the individual web pieces onto the cloak with really giant sort of whip stitches so that it can be easily removed. So I think I'm going to go in and at least sew down the tops of each of the arches of the webs, and hopefully that will stabilize them so that they look halfway decent. I think I'm just gonna try it on a section and then see how that looks, and if it looks okay, we're gonna keep going with it. And if it looks like crap, we're going to turn to plan C, D. Let's hope we don't get there. Okay, day 2, and I'm back. Not gonna lie, yesterday was rough. I felt like I just could not get a win. So after figuring out that my initial plan was not going to work, after having spent hours and hours already problem solving how to cut out the darn piece of fabric, to find out that stitching it down actually looked like crap, was not super fun. So turning my attention to the hat definitely helped my brain to kind of just relax. I managed to get the brim done and sewn all together. That's looking great. I also got the rest of the hat done, the cone, if you will. Here she is. She has a delicious level of slouch, which I'm super happy about. You can see that the wire is here. She may be super over-engineered, but it works great. I can play with how exactly I want this to crinkle and slouch, and then once I find a way that I like, just tack it down in a couple places so it stays like that. After working on that hat yesterday, and that kind of got me back into the mood and feeling good, I decided to go back and recut out the black fabric for the cape out of a different fabric, one that would be more opaque and also a bit more sturdy, because the first one, it was just so flippity floppity that there was like no keeping it in its shape and you could not tell it was a spider web, and it looked like crap. So I went through and I hand sewed the tops of every single arch of this webbing, and I've left the bottoms open because honestly I don't have the patience for that. And in the end it's okay because it actually kind of gives it a nice texture, like it has a bit of movement, and that helps this black stand out a bit from the dark burgundy wool underneath. So being lazy, actually, blessing in disguise. So I've gotten the whole back panel cut out and stitched down, and I worked a bit also last night on the side panel here. So I have the back and one arm sewed down, and today we're going to tackle sewing on the second arm. I'm also going to finish off the hat. Yeah, so let's go do that. Also, I decided I needed a little serotonin boost for the day, so I have on my Halloween corgi sewing pants. Doesn't get much better than that. I realized I didn't really give you guys a good look at what I did with the inside of this hat. I have sewn on these, and then I ran some metal through it. This metal just goes up, over the top, and down to the opposite channel. So that's what that looks like. And then I left some extra at the bottom here, which I figure is then going to go into the brim and kind of help connect the cone part of the hat with the brim. And then the other layer and now we're just going to sew these two layers together. And then once these two have been joined together, I think then we're going to sew the brim on and we should be done. Okay, so the hat hath been wrangled. And I do mean wrangled because, man, was that a process. I definitely did not film any of that because it took all of my willpower to manage to sew these two things together. It looks like a hot mess on the inside, but that's okay. We will clean that up next. So I'm just going to take and put these wires inside the brim, and then we will fold over this lining and stitch it to the lining of the hat, make it look all pretty, and hide all of our sins. Quick update. It's only taken me 4 eternities or so to get to this point. We are almost done. Just this tiny little section here, and then we'll be done. Alright, so this is what I'm thinking for the trimming on the hat. I've got some iridescent black feathers that I want to stick in there, and then I've got this sort of orange spiderweb tulle print netting thing going on that I think I want to make into a little band. So I think I'm gonna go with that.
Okay. Worst familiar ever.
Alright guys, just a quick wrap up here because this video has already turned into a marathon. In general, I'm super happy with the way that this project turned out, even though there were a million roadblocks along the way, and sometimes I felt like pulling my hair out. Are there things I would have done differently along the way? Absolutely. But like they say, hindsight is 20/20, and sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches. I guess this video is sort of an ode to the sewing process, to creative problem solving, and to how much plans can change and evolve over the course of a project, even one as simple and quick as this. Sometimes you just gotta be flexible and go with the flow, even if that means adding miles and miles of hand stitching to your quick and easy Halloween project. So I hope you at least enjoyed coming along with me on the way, seeing how I modified the American Duchess wrap cape to be suitable for an adult Halloween costume. I have so much enjoyed seeing all the varieties that this cape has to offer, and hopefully this added just another version of what you can do with this highly versatile pattern. So if you guys enjoyed coming along with me for this bumpy ride, and if you'd like to see more costuming, crafting, and corgi content, go ahead and click subscribe and join me. I upload on Saturdays, and I will see you next week. What is with the ice cream truck? Who sells ice cream outdoors in October?